everybody for coming. Most of you guys know me a little bit, but you might not know my whole story and sort of how I came to do the work that I'm doing right now. I have a history of being a designer, a graphic designer. It was where I really started out my entrepreneurial journey. Prior to that, I'd studied marketing, and I'd always been very creative and interested in business, but very much the creative side of it, and marketing and design and copywriting, all that stuff really seemed exciting to me and suited my skills and what I was good at. Parallel to my entrepreneurial path, I began a spiritual path, and my truth has been that, being an entrepreneur has really awakened my own spiritual journey in ways that I never really could have imagined. I think that, entrepreneurship gives you a lot of opportunities to grow and heal and move into your, highest self. And some of those lessons are easy and some of them are difficult. And so it's been a real journey for me. Learning Reiki, having a yoga practice, learning about meditation, and some of the other sort of mystical things I've gotten into have been great companions for me when I've gotten stuck or frustrated or didn't really know what I was doing in my business. Being able to tune back into myself and use that skill set along with the sort of strategic marketing stuff, when I put those together, I seem to be able to make much bigger progress in moving through blocks and also growing personally and professionally. I've been an entrepreneur for 10 years. I started out as a graphic designer, and about 4 or 5 years into that, I sort of felt that I wasn't able to go deep enough with my clients. Graphic design felt fairly surface compared to what I wanted to be doing and working with my clients around. And so I started looking at strategy, and particularly brand strategy. And as I started studying it, I was like, wow, there's a lot of parallels. They're talking about purpose and vision and the movement of heart-centered entrepreneurship and all of that. And I could see the parallels to spiritual teachings. And in particular, I got really curious about the human chakras. And I thought, I think there's some parallel here. I think business has adapted a lot of these terminologies and theories. They've maybe took them from these sort of original places, but over the last 100 years, we've sort of stripped the soul out of business and entrepreneurship. And so I have a real mission to kind of bring that soul and that essence back into business teaching, so that as you're growing your business, you can be growing yourself, and you can find that alignment between your personal path and your business path. So obviously running a company called Radiate Real, I have a real passion around authenticity. And I think authenticity is one of those words we throw around, and we don't always know what that means, or we have different interpretations of what that means. So I'm going to ask you guys right now to just take a second, what does being authentic mean to you? And if you'd like to share that in the comments, that would be great. But yeah, really think about, what does authentic success feel like to you? What does it look like to you? And what would you be doing, or how would you be being if you were being 100% authentic to yourself right now? And I think that question is the question that started me on my sort of big reinvention. I mentioned I had that first transition moving from a graphic designer into strategy. But what happened for me when I threw myself into the world of strategy is that I kind of lost a piece of myself. And I was trying to be something that I wasn't. I thought, okay, if I'm going to be a strategist, I have to act, more masculine or more business-like. And I had a lot of shoulds that I was imposing on how that was going to look. When I was a graphic designer, although it wasn't necessarily feeding my soul, it was a little bit more aligned because I didn't feel like I was pretending so much. But when I really made that shift into saying I want to be sort of a business strategist and consultant, I definitely had an identity crisis. And signing up to build a program was part of me getting back on track and really giving me a framework to look at where I was being inauthentic with myself and what I really wanted to teach. And so when I set out to build a course, I thought, oh, I'm just going to teach a course on what I know, branding. But then when I started getting into it, I was just like, no, like, why would I spend hundreds of hours building a curriculum that's not 100% aligned to the message I want to put into this world? And so that was the beginning of a very big journey. And some of it was fun and some of it was not so fun. You know, it was a little bit of a dark night of the soul time for me. And I had to really look at some parts of myself that I didn't really want to look at or I hadn't looked at. And in doing that, I was able to really move forward and purge and release and come into alignment with what I really wanted to say. And so that's my connection to authenticity and why it's so important to me. And I think authenticity is at the core of my message, and everything that I want to sort of put out into the world is really about bringing people into closer connection with their authentic self. Brene Brown says authenticity is the collection of choices we make every day. It's about the choice to show up and be real, the choice to be honest, the choice to let our true selves be seen. And I love that last part, the choice to let our true selves be seen. And as entrepreneurs, putting ourselves out there, it can be so hard and it can be frightening, and there's so many fears and blocks and things that can come from that. So, you know, Brene talks about how we need to have bravery, we need to have courage, we need to have self-love, compassion, forgiveness, and we need to do the work. And those things really set the foundation for us living authentic lives where we're connected to our true self. A more lighthearted way to say it might be this. I won't swear on this webinar, but when I saw this, I just thought, like, hallelujah, isn't that the truth? We go through life, we start out our businesses, our careers, our paths, and there's a whole lot of shoulds put on us by other people and our experiences and how we were raised. And I think really one of the biggest elements of branding ourselves and finding our core message is stripping that stuff away so we can get to the core, so we can get to that light, and we can really shine it and be our true self. What is branding is another thing I just kind of want to talk about briefly, because we're talking about your core message today, and your core message really is the essence of your brand. It's the thing that when you can get down to that core thing, it helps you then create content, create programs, create marketing that all stems back to this core message. And as human beings in this world, we're given thousands of messages every day. And I think the real work to do as an entrepreneur is to make sure your message is simple, clear, and that you're sort of reinforcing the same message over and over again. That doesn't mean that we can't go through phases where we're trying stuff out and figuring it out. And obviously I've been through that phase as well. But the intention, the goal, right, is to come up with this core thing that we can be known for and that can help give us the focus to create from and stand out from that core essence and soul. I call it the soul of your business. So everything is energy. Your thought begins it, your emotions amplify it, and your actions increase the momentum. So branding to me is a form of energy. It's very intangible. You can't you can see a logo, yes, you can hear a person, yes, but a lot of branding is this sort of magical, intangible stuff that exists out, when we put something out, people feel it. People either feel drawn to it or sort of pushed away from it. And when I started seeing that sort of, the invisible part of branding, and that is something, and being a Reiki person and working with energy, it made a lot of sense that we're putting this thing out, this message, this vibe, and people are either going to get it and want to move closer to it, or they're not going to get it and move away from it. And that's okay. And we need to be okay with finding the people who get it and want to come closer to it and not trying to please everybody. that's again about focusing and coming into that core message and alignment with that true thing. Branding, this is from a great book called The Brand Gap, if you're interested in learning a little bit about what branding is strategically. But marketing is, telling people I'm a great lover. Advertising is repeating that message over and over and over again until people get it. Public relations is somebody else coming in and saying, trust it. But branding is when the other person just gets it. They just understand it, right? And that's what we're really looking for, people to understand who we are, what we're doing, and why it's important to the person on the other end. So why invest in branding? Branding is about building trust and credibility. It's about humanizing your business, your product, your idea. It's about getting to that, again, that energetic core that feels real and evokes emotions. It helps increase loyalty and bonding. So when we all know what it's like to love a brand. We probably all have a few brands that we just love, and we maybe don't even know why. And especially, you look at Starbucks or Apple or these sort of mega brands, and it's like anything, if you're on that train, anything they put out, you're just like, yes, I want it. And that's really what brand loyalty stems down to. It also helps you focus your marketing time and energy. So there's so many channels out there to be putting content on, and we can get so lost. But if we can come down to that core message and that core thing we're trying to get into people's conscious that we're about, then it helps us, do less scrambling on putting that together. And again, being able to present a consistent message over multiple channels or multiple experiences in contact with you. And over time, it's going to be really that thing that helps you stand out and differentiate yourself. So how do you find your message? Excuse me for my coughing. I'm just coming out of cold season. So how do you find your message? Seth Godin, I love. He's definitely one of the brightest sort of, I think, light workery type marketing guys out there. And he's just been putting out a lot of great content for years about bringing marketing down to its most human place. And I love this because he talks about how so many people as entrepreneurs, we think it's about being louder, being in more places, shouting our message. And Seth's really a pioneer of something called, talking about the difference between push marketing versus pull marketing. Push marketing is the era we grew up in, TV, video, radio. It was all about shout your message, get your message out to as many people, and then they'll hear it. But then what happened when social media came, into our consciousness in the last, couple of decades is people couldn't be putting out the same message, shouting and shouting and shouting. It would get boring, right? So this concept of pull marketing came, which is that instead of shouting a message, we create content that pulls people into our brand. And if you think about energy, it makes so much sense, that idea of pulling people towards us with our marketing versus pushing out. It has much more resonance, I think, for holistic, heart-centered people. To think about drawing people into our circle and into our business to relate to us. So the extended version of this passage is: every day we can wonder and worry about whether a blog post is worth it, not whether or not the microphone is working, but whether it's worth using at all. It's much easier to spend a lot of time making your microphone louder than it is working on making your message more compelling. The path of chiming in is safe and easy and carries little apparent risk and less reward for you and for your readers. Choosing to dig deep and say more, though, is where both risk and reward live. And I love this because it really, I'm somebody who's all about digging deep. I think the more we go through a process, a creative process or a process of reinvention, we get closer and closer to that nugget, that thing that we're really trying to express through our work. Branding demands commitment to continual reinvention, striking chords with people to stir their emotions, and commitment to imagination. It is easy to be cynical about such things. much harder to be successful. So this is also something that I really noticed on my path of being an entrepreneur for 10 years, was that yes, reinvention is the name of the game. It's just there. We're constantly learning things, gathering new skills, trying new things, and we need to be able to have a system or some sort of framework or understanding that there's a process behind all of this and that we're part of a process. And when I started looking at design, and so this is a very design thinking based model of how a designer thinks, or how a creative person sort of brings an idea to life. Oftentimes when we hire a graphic designer, we think, oh, we just get that first version, and we forget that there's like an entire process that happens behind the scenes before you ever see even the first version that gets sent to you. And so this is a sort of simplified version. It's also I love this one because it's a spiral. So it shows that you don't go through the loop once, you go through it over and over again until you get to that final version. So we're working from research and understanding our market and what's available to us, different options, moving into ideation, which is starting to make some of those things tangible, development, which is about choosing what we're going to keep and let go of, revising, getting feedback, and then continuing into the loop until you get to that final version. Very similar to the hero's journey. And so, like I said, being an entrepreneur for me has felt very much like a journey. And so I love this model as well, which is another cycle. Most of us who are about to rebrand or thinking about rebranding have that initial call to adventure. There's something's not working, something's not right, they're stuck, and they're ready to then, sort of move forward. But in that, they have to sort of go from into the unknown, into the abyss, as they call it. And this is where, you need people who are going to help you. You need to be, sort of willing to enter the depths of those places that you haven't been to yet and explore and be okay with some of the mess that's going to come out of that, because it's all about understanding that through that cycle, we are able to return and be even, greater than we were before. Self-awareness is the only sustainable competitive advantage, is what a guy named Scott Belsky says from 99U. And I love this concept. I think it's true. The more we know ourselves, the more easy it is to brand ourselves, to stand out as unique and different, because, through a lot of our conditionings, we've been conditioned to be same. And so going back to that first thing of like really letting go of all the stuff that's been piled onto us and getting back to that core, the process of that, the goal is that self-awareness and being able to know what we want to keep and what we want to let go of and what we want to move forward with. So I have 3 steps that I've, come up with over my years of being a designer and all of that, that sort of model, a bit of what we were talking about, the design process steps, or, the hero's journey. And the very first one is awakening your soul. And that's the deep dive. That's being open to this time of reflection and self-discovery. Being open to look at all the options, so not getting super stuck on what we think the right answer is, but opening ourselves up to that curiosity and exploration that comes from really diving into our core. Seeking clarity and awareness. This is the time of researching and brainstorming and ideation and thinking big and having fun. So I really think this is a first stage we need to sort of embrace and enter as we're going to go into any reinvention or transformation. Then you want to get to the aligning with your path. So you want to be, once you've sort of explored and you've got some ideas and some new approaches you want to start playing with, you need to choose a direction, a focus. And so I like to think of like, we all kind of have this core path that's our highest self, our true self. And we kind of weave in and out of it. And every once in a while we like intersect with that path and we're like, oh, wow. Like I'm on my path. I get it. Everything feels very connected and and true for me right now. And then sometimes we go a little bit off that path, and I think that's when we're sort of called to come back, or we feel the pain of being a little bit out of alignment with ourselves. So choosing to get back onto your unique path is really important. Aligning your actions. So this is when you have to start taking different actions. Once you have that new awareness, you can start taking different actions, building a new strategy, building a new plan, and starting to find resonance, seeing synchronicity show up in our life that help us know that we're back on the right path, or we're heading in the right direction, and starting to be really intentional with what we're doing and what we're putting out in the world, and working on a plan, really coming up with a plan and a game plan, and not winging it, but being intentional about where we're moving to and what it's going to take to get there. And then the final stage is manifesting your message. And this is where a lot of people just jump in. Okay, I need a new logo. Okay, I need a sales page. Okay. And it's the topical approach of going in here, and you miss those two first stages, which are so important. Those are the stages that, really help you get the information that's going to make this stage of manifesting your content so much more effective and personalized and authentic to you. So this is the design and development stage. So this is where you might start bringing in creative partners and people to work with you. And the reason the first two stages are so important is so that you can actually communicate to them what are you creating. Being a designer for a lot of years, I saw people put that on me. And I thought, no, like, you're your own brand guru. At the end of the day, you need to know who you are. You need to know what you're creating. I'm here to facilitate that and make it look and feel the best it can. But I really do believe as entrepreneurs, we need to know our direction and where we're heading. And we need to be able to communicate that to people. And that's going to help make everything we create that much more effective. This might be a time when we need to start revising our business model, looking at different ways of creating content and things we want to put out. And if you've gone through all the stages and you've really got a clear idea of who you are, this is when you can start designing real signature programs and things, again, that are not you teaching something but something that you're teaching that and is 100% aligned with the message you want to put out into this world. And so it's unique. It becomes unique and it stands out because it's so aligned with who you are. So those are the 3 stages. Now, you guys all know a little bit about the chakra framework that I've chose to use to help teach this. The reason I chose the chakra framework is because traditionally chakras hold they're energetic centers of our body. They connect our body, mind, and spirit. And they give us a framework to understand ourselves and do personal development work or healing work. And I thought, well, isn't it similar in our business? I really do believe sometimes we think our business is us. And I think that a healthy separation is very good, because then when our business isn't working, we don't necessarily project that onto ourselves. So I'm a big believer that we need to birth our brand. We need to birth our ideas, and we need to birth our business concept so that there's a healthy distance and perspective so we can work on it and help it grow and mature. And chakras can be used from the root up, or the way that I teach it is from the crown down. And the reason I taught that I've approached it this way, is because this is very much how creativity works. Elizabeth Gilbert has a book called Big Magic on creativity, and I love it. She talks about how there's just all these ideas out in the ether, and they're just waiting for someone to raise their hand and say, like, I'm going to bring that to life. And I think that that's true for all of us. This framework, teaching this framework, finding the connection between chakras and business strategy, like, that felt like a divine download, like, yes, I'm smart and I was able to put it together and structure it, but like that initial hit of insight came to me and it felt like, I'm like, how come no one else has thought of this? You know, it felt like I tapped into something and I raised my hand and I said, okay, I'm going to manifest this. I'm going to put this out into the world. And so in this chakra framework, the idea is, you know, the idea reaches our crown. We become aware of it. It comes into our insight and our third eye. We start talking about it, articulating it, giving it a voice, maybe, you know, structuring it somehow initially. We start talking about the idea. Do we like it? Do we love it? And I'll tell you guys a little bit how I do that a bit differently in the chakra course. Then there's the confidence piece. Then there's the creative piece. And then finally, we can give birth to the idea. So that's why I've chose to do the crown down approach. So when you look at the business chakras and what I've chose to align with each one of these, the first one is, you know, your crown chakra is your why and your purpose. And we start there. We start talking about why you do what you do. If you know Simon Sinek, Start With Why, we start talking about that concept, right? Because he says that is starting with your why is what helps people follow you and sets you apart and gives an emotional resonance to your idea. So we start with really delving into your life purpose, your business purpose, and product purpose. So if, you know, everything I teach sort of has those three pillars. We look at you, we look at your business, and then we look at what you're creating. And so this framework works across those three core pillars. Then we move into your third eye and we study your direction and your vision, and we really work on opening up your imagination and your visualization and being able to really see and create goals for your business that feel aligned to that purpose and drawn into you. So again, all modules start with, you know, a meditation, because I want you to work from the inside out. So again, starting with what do you see on the inside, and then using that to help you kind of build what you want to put out into the world. We talk about your message and your voice. So finding your voice is really about understanding what it is that you believe in, your principles, and what you're trying to say, and starting to share those amidst all of your marketing and your communication that you put out. Then we move into your heart, your tribe, your muse, like who have you created this for? Why do they love it? How can you compassionately connect with these people and market to these people without using the exploitive kind of techniques that a lot of us associate with marketing? This is really about, again, that pulling people into your tribe by being yourself and being aware of what your customer's going through and speaking to that with compassion. Then we move into the solar plexus, which is really about self-confidence and worth, and we talk about your value proposition and how clear you are on your value proposition. Do you know the benefits that you provide for people, both tangible and intangible, and are you communicating those in a clear, simple way? And once I think you know these things, it gives you a lot more confidence, and you're able to sell and promote yourself better because you know what's in it for your customer and you know how to communicate that. Then we move into the sacral, which is birth and creation, and we talk about your identity, your unique vibe. We talk a bit about, you know, design and how to bring that to life in your business. And we finish off with the root, which is your promise and your mission, and really getting clear on what you're going to do and what you're doing and how you're going to have integrity with delivering your promise and showing up for people in the way that you want to. So those are the 7 chakras. And the reason we study them, right, is so that you can get clear on your core message and authentic difference, because that is at the core of everything that you do. And once you know that, it will really transform what you create, how you communicate to people, and what you're putting out into the world. So the course details for anyone who's interested, I'm not going to do a long pitch here, but I'm just going to make sure the information's up and then I can send it out with the replay. This is what we're going to be, this is the model that we're going to be doing. So I did a beta in the summer, which every lesson was live. And the feedback I got was people wanted some time to do the work and then come together and work on it, do more active Q&A sessions. So I've broken it up. I'm going to do 8 pre-recorded videos that are released on Tuesday. And then every 2 weeks, we're going to have like a live mastermind session like this, where there'll be Q&A. I might bring in some speakers from my network to talk about some of the concepts from the 2 modules that were before that mastermind session. Each chakra, I'm going to have a guided business meditation for. You're going to get a workbook. So the workbook is very practical. It's full of templates and tools and business exercises that I've gathered over my years of doing courses and working in marketing. So this is this is a very practical business course as well. It's not just a spiritual airy-fairy thing. I'm going to get you guys doing real strategic work, and you're going to come out with a Radiate Real soul map, which is, I have a little picture of it here. So there's one for your personal, one for your business. And you guys probably can't see that because I'm just a little video. But anyway, it's a quick snapshot that you can use to kind of outline the key insights that you're getting for each one of your chakras. So you have something visual you can put up by your computer or help you as you revise and move through the content. There'll be a private Facebook group, and I'll bring in some speakers and other exciting stuff. So it's going to start on next Tuesday, so a week from today. And then the schedule, as you can see, the masterminds are spaced out every 2 weeks, and the last one will be at the beginning of the year. So I think the real value of running this before the end of the year is that you guys can start 2017 with a clear picture of who you are and what you're doing, and not spend time at the beginning of the year figuring that out. You can really move into action in 2017. So the pricing of it is $597 or 2 monthly payments of $347. And I'm going to give a bonus offer for anybody who watches the webinar, which is $100 off. And the first 5 people will get a one-on-one session with me. So the first 5 people to sign up are going to get some extra time with me at the end of the course to really help you dive in and solidify the insight that you've gathered over the course. And registration is going to close on Sunday, November 6th. And if you have any questions, the sales page is at radiatereal.com, Awaken Your Brand, but I'll send out a follow-up email with the replay of today's webinar and all the information on the course. So don't worry about that. You'll be getting that. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to unmute yourself and ask away. Otherwise, we'll finish off with a nice guided meditation.